Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. How did you get into my house with a tripod and a camera? Well, that's just one mystery we're never gonna solve. So what is this video? Well, according to the title, it's actually down there, probably. Or it's in the address bar as well, isn't it? No, I guess not. According to the title, this is a review of my new build, the one powered by an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X with 32 gigs of ADATA, I think. What I got? Corsair memory, I think that's what I got. 32 gigs of 3200 megahertz memory with CL16, because that's all they had for an acceptable price, with an ADATA 512 gigabyte SSD running on NVMe, like on M.2. It's so fast, this PC can boot and crash at the same time. We're back to Windows 5 level era of amazingness. And of course, the motherboard, which cost a hell of a lot of money, because all X570 motherboards cost a hell of a lot of money for, some have reasons, some do not. Mine has the VRM potential of one day actually being usable for a 16-core, 20-core CPU. I'll probably get one in 10 years when they're cheaper and secondhand. But this is a review of the build. My review of the build is as follows. It's this thing. So the problem with trying to make an actual review of this build is that testing things takes time. So remember when I did the video card review, that was kind of a sham review because I didn't have time to test everything in all sorts of different multiple iterations of all possibilities and stuff. So I just did, average frame rates in a couple of games that I had in hand. Well, I had time back then. That took like 3 days to do. I don't have that kind of time now, so I just used a couple of the games that I benchmarked the video card in the last build. So it's gonna be a comparative review, if you will, with the old PC. The old PC, if you don't know, was an i5 3570K from Raul. It's his old PC. He upgraded to I think a Skylake. He still has the Skylake. I think his video card is dying at the moment, so he wants to upgrade to something newer as well, at least in terms of video cards. Thankfully, in terms of CPU, it's still a good CPU. It's a quad-core CPU, but it's still one that Intel is still considered to be amazeballs in terms of performance, so they didn't really bother changing it until Ryzen came along, and they upped the number of cores. Did not change the architecture much. They made it less well-performing because of the several hardware implemented fixes to some security vulnerabilities that won't really affect most people, but the fixes will. They will sometimes be noticeable in terms of performance drop. So that PC had 16 gigs of RAM. It ran from a 128 gigabyte SSD that I still have around in the Q6600 computer, and that thing runs like a beast now. It just boots up and crashes at the same time, just like this one. It's amazing. So this isn't going to be a super in-depth review of how the hardware handles and stuff like that, because I just can't do that. But I thought I'd share with you why I spent the money you gave us on Patreon on a new PC, and why I had to. What was not all that super about the old PC? Well, the main issue, and I think I touched upon this when I did the video card review, was that the old PC had a motherboard designed by Satan. It was designed by Satan's understudy, because Satan got food poisoning once, I guess, and had to find somebody to replace him, somebody who was incompetent. So they put most of the SATA ports right under the GPU, and they oriented them in such a way that if you were to connect both of those SATA ports, you couldn't really do it, because the cables would go head, and they wouldn't fit. Like, the right angle connectors would not fit one in front of the other because they would overlap, and they can't overlap because they're fixed and the video card's kind of big, so it take up space. So I was left with just 2 SATA ports, meaning that I had no expandability in terms of storage, and I may have a 2 terabyte HDD, but that thing routinely gets filled up because of the shows, because of the B-roll, because of the game footage, and I have this nifty camera. I take a lot of pictures of cats. Do you understand how many pictures of cats I take? I have a herd of cats outside my building. I take pictures of them every single day. They are adorable. Also, they're horrible. I mean, they are savage. They're the kind of cats that if you try to pet them first, they would run away from you and do kung fu moves to run away. But if you try to call them for food, they will come to you, they will eat, and then they'll bite you. They're kind of asshole cats. That's what cats do. But they're cute. One of them's super fluffy. Reminds me of ye old Fliffo. Ah, Fliffo, the kitten we had as a mascot for this channel until YouTube decided it wouldn't actually give us money to be able to run a business and keep that cat happy. Now that cat is probably out running Latveria or something. I gave it to an old lady that lives in a different building. Cat's fine, probably. Have not checked on Fliffo in a while. It's fine. So, I didn't have expandability. I didn't have USB 3. Do you know how much of a life changer USB 3 is? You probably don't. If you've had a PC made in the last decade, you have USB 3. You've lived with it. You don't know what it's like to not have it. I do. I haven't had USB 3 until like a month ago. It's been an amazing experience. I can actually get the stuff from the camera to the PC in less than what it takes me to, probably scribble down the bits on a piece of paper and then type them in to the computer and just recreate the files that way. It'd be a faster situation in some situations because this camera can record in very, very, very high detail. The 4K, or not even the 4K, the 1080p videos can go up to 200 megabits. Megabits per second. And that's a lot of video. That's like 50 gigs for 1 hour or so video. This isn't shot in the old intro mode, by the way, because I wanted to actually, not take up all my space. Because turns out, even with the extra 512 gigabyte SSD, and still not a lot of room. I need more storage, so there's that. But thankfully, now I can get storage. Now I have SATA ports for days. Do you know how many SATA ports I have? I don't. I have the luxury now of not caring how many SATA ports I have because I know there's more in there that I can use at any time for any reason. I even have one extra PCIe M.2 NVMe slot free. I have PCIe slots that I didn't have on the other one because the other one was an M-SATA board. Not M-SATA, M8X board. It was a small board, I used to have an obsession a couple of decades ago, 10 or so years ago, of having a small PC like an M80X, i80X board, something compact. God, no. I'm thankful to Raul for giving me his motherboard because that motherboard just made me realize that those kinds of systems are screwed. For the long term, they are screwed. They have very little expandability. This one's a full ATX board. It can fit one more like big PCIe 16X device and a bunch more smaller ones. And they're all PCI Express 4.0, so there's bandwidth there for months. And by months I mean years, decades, millennia even. This is the first, and I mean the first, future-proof CPU, future-proof system I've had. The CPU can be upgraded. The RAM can be upgraded to 64. Oh, actually, I can get 128 gigabytes in this thing. I can put storage in it until the end of time. I have places to store PCIe devices in. I have USB-C. I have no USB-C devices, but I have USB Type-C and USB Type 3.2 Gen 1, 2, 3, 4 Super Speed Plus. USB naming schemes are garbage these days, so we're thankful we're moving to USB 4, which is basically Thunderbolt, and I can now actually get an extension card with Thunderbolted to it, because there's bandwidth enough in PCI Express 4 to do that, and it'll be fine. I have a future. This PC has a future, and it's amazing. Actually, building it was not well documented because now you may think that this video is badly lit. It's even worse lit now. I actually replaced the chandelier now. It's got more light, but still not what you would call necessary for proper video to work. And I didn't have this when I was building the new PC, so I didn't really bother shooting a lot of footage because everything I shot came out ugly looking and unfocused, like you're going to see probably on the background from time to time now and again. It is hopefully still recording in the background though. Yeah, that's recording. That's you're probably looking at and seeing that isn't what you were using before. That's not Adobe Audition. I'm saving that for another video that I'm going to shoot right after this one. So I didn't have I didn't set up the camera like I wanted to initially to like take shots or record a video of me, you know, doing the whole install with all the things, putting in the CPU and having like, you know, moments of yay, like a montage of building the CPU. That didn't pan out. Mostly because at one point I was panicking, oh my god, where are my motherboard screws? Because I didn't have enough. So I technically still don't have enough. The motherboard is not screwed in with all the screws. But it's sitting there, so it hasn't fallen off, so it's fine. Also, I was a bit panicked because the motherboard has 12 pin CPU power, and I only had 8, but it's fine. 8 will work. I'm not running a 16-core CPU currently. In 10 years, who knows? But I was actually surprised how smoothly everything went. Like the RAM worked out of the box. The RAM first it was recognized as 201,033 megahertz because that's what it is as basis. But I just flipped the switch and bam, 3,200 megahertz. The video card didn't do stupid stuff again because installing the video card in the old build, which is the same case but with the old motherboard, was a pain in the ass because, you know, of these SATA ports, one, and secondly, it wouldn't boot. And then it wouldn't boot with the other one either. And that was because of the RAM. Because the RAM did something, it had oxidation on it and decided now not to work, and it was kind of annoying. But this one just worked. Like, first try. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And hey, you're not supposed to turn off. Get back here. Actually, I think it may be better for the white balance of itself, but nah. You can see a shot of the CPU. I'm probably going to put those in the foreground as well. So, where was I? Yeah, it turned on and it was amazing. Then I installed Windows, and a month later Windows did the whole, hey, you like pin shortcuts, right? Well, the UAC is going to go crazy again and not let you use them. So that happened a couple of days ago. System restore did nothing, so I'm probably going to reinstall it at one point. But how does it run? That's the most important thing of this complete rant, unscripted, unfiltered, stupid thing that I'm doing now that I'm on vacation currently, technically, so I could probably do this better if I prepared it a bit more, but I printed out charts, so that's something I actually prepared. So one thing to notice is that since this is a comparative comparative review, I'm comparing it to the i5, and the change in the CPU is noticeable. I was kind of afraid. I kept hearing the dark side of the Ryzen that, oh, it doesn't have an IPC that's good enough. No, it is just that somewhere around the level of Haswell, it barely barely catches up to Skylake in terms of CPU potential. How would you even know that you upgraded? Well, I know, like, the CPU uplift in some situations is just tremendous. It is amazing, but I'm still bottlenecked by the GPU itself. More so because, so you know how some Radeon drivers tend to bork video recording on my my system? Well, I think that maybe because my GPU has two settings and it has two BIOSes. One of them is the stock clock, 1266 megahertz. One of them is super overclocked to 1306 megahertz. And those extra 40 megahertz seem to drive just about every version of Radeon drivers past the August 2017 one crazy. It's like they didn't factor in that people may overclock these, or they would come overclocked out of the box. Technically, there is one with more overclock from Sapphire, and I think maybe they forgot about this bin of them, and they just optimized for the more performance-oriented build and the stock one, and I guess that's why, but without those extra 40 megahertz, I did actually benchmark the CPU, so the system, and results may not truly show the potential of the results. Actually, no, the results don't show the potential of the CPU because I'm still using the same video card. And my video card, yeah, it was a great mid-range video card in 2017. Now, a mid-range video card costs about $100 more and has twice the performance, like a 5700 XT from Radeon, or a 2060, I guess, from Nvidia. Those things also come with some really snazzy video encoders nowadays, and the software I'm using now doesn't do that. So it's nice. It's cool, actually. So let's get into the stuff I tested. Doom, 70 gigs. Did not download to test it. MechWarrior Online I've had installed since forever. I keep meaning to get MechWarrior 5, but it's 41 euros. And there's no saying, never paid more than 20 bucks for a video game, so I'm still waiting on that. But the issue I had, by the way, the tests I used to make, they were just averages. Like, they were averages, and they didn't necessarily reflect the playing experience. And in MechWarrior Online, I used to have an average of 64 frames a second on the i5. Now, that came with some dips into the 40s when the heat was on and battle was met. Now, I have an average of 82. The minimums, they're the old average. It dips into the 50s and 60s on minimum. So, the most noticeable uplift isn't necessarily to the max. Well, yeah, in this case, you can notice that the max frames are up in CPU-bound games. They are consistently up. But the minimums are a lot closer to the average, a lot closer to the maximum than they used to be in games that are CPU bound. It's noticeable that they don't dip, they don't have a experience of jitteriness, of sturdiness. It's smooth now. It's super smooth. It's amazing. So moving on to Rainbow Six Siege, used to get 83 on average. That's in their testing system, their benchmark. And now I'm at I was pendactic. I think that's the term on this one. I got an average of 94.7 on this one. That is an uplift of almost 10 frames a second. It's considering I downclocked my video card by 40 megahertz, and I'm still using the same video card. It is an uplift. And again, by the way, these tests, these were run max settings, 1080p, with no anti-aliasing. And that's important because a lot of games nowadays use temporal anti-aliasing, which is horrible. And if left unused, if the game is built around temporal AA, it'll make the game look butt ugly without it. And it will even screw up the resolution, the actual rendering resolution without it, or with it. So I just didn't enable any sort of anti-aliasing on any of these. Keep that in mind. So 10 frames a second, that means, actually that doesn't mean a lot, because I mostly play VSync with that one and just tune the performance so it stays within 75 frames a second, because that's what the main monitor can do. And now it basically stays there, like with max textures. Oh, by the way, the Rainbow Six Siege is currently a bit bugged, so you don't properly see the loading indicator anymore to see who's loading the slowest. Everybody either is loading or nobody's loading. It's a thing that they've done that I kind of hate it, because now with the Ultra HD super duper mega textures you have to download separately that are like 40 gigs onto themselves, I load instantly. There's no delay. When I'm at the loading screen, it's already loaded. Because that's the power of 3 gigabyte a second sequential reading NVMe, baby. It is amazing. Flat out amazing. And there's no stutters, there's no performance, there's no jitters. There's still the occasional drop off in the network, because I think maybe my router may be having some issues, or perhaps possibly has been having issues for a long time, or it's the game servers. Actually, fun fact, I just realized I have the wrong router. Like 3 years ago, I ordered a router. It came, installed it, worked, didn't give it much thought. A couple of months ago, when I ordered this PC, I was looking through my old purchases on the site I bought it from and realized, oh my god, I actually bought a 3 antenna router. This one has 2. They sent me the wrong router. This one was supposed to be cheaper than the one I bought. I got ripped off 3 years ago. So, if you ever want to rip me off, keep in mind, I will realize that after 3 years. So, you can get a head start. Now, Elite Dangerous. This is a horrible test because since I made this test, I got the Horizons update, which, snazzed up the graphics. I actually added the LAN stuff, but I also have forgotten where exactly in space I made the test. But the difference is about 6 frames a second. Like, this one's 176, the i5 was 170, so it's in the margin of error almost. It's a non-test. It's one of the worst tests I've ever done, I guess. So moving on to GTA 5. In the old one, I used to get 43 frames a second in the benchmark on average, which was something. Like, I wouldn't max out the game, it looked nice, it ran okay. In this one, 71 frames a second. It really likes fast CPUs, y'all. It really does like CPUs, so that i5 was the bottleneck in this. And mind you, I also played that with the 750, the GTX 750, and I also played it with the old Q6600. And man, this is the fastest I've ever ran GTA 5. Also, in case you're curious, having an M.2 SSD that can load the super mega ultra textures of Rainbow Six Siege like that, no, it does not improve your loading time in GTA Online. It still takes bloody ages. You will die of old age before it loads properly. Next on the list, I forgot to set the screensaver thing again. Next on the list, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter did not download to test. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. This would have been a great thing to test on because it has DirectX 11 and DirectX 12. It's also gigantic, so I did not load it. I did not test with that. However, I did test with Rome Total War 2, where I got an extra 1 frame a second. That game is completely GPU bound. However, in CSGO, remember, when I first did this test, the new Inferno map had just come out, and I noticed a thing that if I went to the... what was it? Was it B? One of the bombs, the one with the fountain. If I shot the fountain, my frames would like drop. Like, there would be a consistent drop in the frame rate if I kept shooting that fountain, and if bots ran around shooting each other. So I did that again, and instead of 120 through, what kind of number is that? I just invented a new number. So instead of 123 frames a second, I have 185. That is an uplift. That is a noticeable, huge uplift. And if I wasn't shooting the thing, I would get like over 200. So it's amazing to see something like that in Rainbow Six, in CS:GO on a Ryzen CPU. Series M3 did not test. Unreal Tournament 4, it's kind of abandoned, so I didn't test either. The Witcher 3 did not test. I kind of should have, because I really should have with this one, because man, the improvement I got when I installed this video card in the i5 was amazing. I got from like 10 frames a second to 71. Who knows what I would have gotten if I actually tested it. So that's what you get for not doing proper testing. The Secret World Agartha did not test because I think they changed the game too much to actually matter. Grid Autosport, I was too lazy to test it out, so I didn't. Rocket League, this one was quick to download. I'm kind of a bit scared of using up SSD write cycles currently, so that's why I didn't do all this like super duper download, because I already downloaded like 1 terabyte doing these tests or something. But Rocket League went from 148 on that space map, the one that looks a bit like Halo. It went from 148 to 205. That is a big uplift. That is uplift right there. And then the other one's Far Cry 4. I actually forgot to test Far Cry 4. It's not that I didn't want to, I just plumb forgot. And Shadow of Mordor, I didn't care about. The moral of the story is that this, even with the same GPU that is limited in some games, the performance uplift is still amazeballs. And most importantly, in content production, when I actually have the right settings to export, I have noticed that I'm crunching between 90 and 170 frames a second in terms of encoding. That is a lot. That is, how should I put this? A 52-minute video was encoded on this system in around 14 minutes. Now that was a full HD YouTube quality thing, and a 4K video, something akin to the one with the Pelicans, the big one. I made a smaller one because I was also visiting the Pelicans this year. It took around, I would say, half the actual time of the video, whereas with the old one it took 4 times as long as the video itself. So it went from 4 times the length of the video to half the length of the video. And mind you, I was still probably using the wrong settings, because I'm not using Premiere anymore, and I'll get that in a different video. But the essential part is that I don't know how I've lived so far without USB 3. It's been fantastic to be able to have cores doing things. You just don't. There's a point where you don't know. You get used to things. You get used to things chugging. You get used to things not running properly, to things loading slowly, to things breaking. And then you have another 12 threads to take up the slack, to handle the load, to bear the weight, and you realize, my God, you can do this. You can have performance with no downsides. I don't have to sacrifice anything anymore. I can have it all. Well, I'm still using Windows 10, so Windows 10 will often say, no, you can't. Your taskbar is useless. Also, you forgot to keep the executables for the Stardock Object Desktop suite, so now we have to buy it again. Fun fact, if you buy a year subscription of Object Desktop, keep the executables because you can reinstall them forever. But if it runs out, you can't re-download them. That's a very important thing. So no more fences, sadly, for me for a while. The important thing is that with the CPU, I can better provide content for you people. That's a lie. I don't actually have the time to do that. I'm doing like a blast of these shows because I have a week off from work and it's Christmas, and instead of spending it with my nephew, with my family, I am abandoning them for you. Don't worry, it's not the first time I've done this. I've done this for the people at Games Arena. I've done this for the people at Arena TV. I kind of regret doing that for Arena TV. That was a horrible experience to work there, but it was those were my formative years in this medium. It's why I am such a cynical, jaded bastard that hates everything and is dead on the inside. But on the bright side, now I'm dead on the inside with an 8-core CPU. It runs fantastic. I've had no issues with it. No, actually, no, wait. Did have one issue with it. So, when I built this, I was initially thinking of putting it in the case that RaidMax sent over a year or 2 years ago almost. 2 years, man, that's a long time. But there was the problem that that thing did not have front intake fans. I could put some fans there. I could strip them from this case. But it didn't have front filtration, air filtration. And I do have a very, very dusty home. It's because I'm living in a construction yard. And that would have caused a lot of dust buildup on my system. So I put in Yellow Case because Yellow Case does have front filter. It doesn't have proper ventilation on top. You can't exhaust things upwards, just backwards. So it's limited that way. But I did think that it wouldn't be an issue if I put it in there. So turns out the Ryzen CPUs have a monstrous cooler that can go to over 3000 RPM and create such an amount of static pressure that the really thin, I mean super thin, panels of the Zalman Z1 Neo will just go and make my life a living hell when it's loading things in Rainbow Six Siege, for example, because loading things super fast does crank up the CPU and the temperature. So I tried different things. I tried different profiles for the fan, and eventually I just decided to take off the side panels and let the dust in anyway. Not a great thing, but here's the funny part. Yesterday I updated the BIOS because I'm gonna get some updates now soon. I updated the BIOS and it doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't ramp up. It's cooler. It's more conservative with its energy, I guess. Now it just is. It's silent now. Oh sure, I think the profile of the fan reset to its default, but even when it was default, it was still doing that. So I may actually be able to put the case panels back on and hopefully not get as much dust into it as there would be without them. Hopefully. We'll see. Oh, by the way, Asus, if you're watching this, you make really shitty software. And I mean it. Your Crate Armored thing that's supposed to handle the RGB thing to my CPU, yeah, that thing doesn't recognize the CPU anymore, the CPU's RGB thing, and it doesn't recognize your own motherboard's RGB, because of course it has RGB. It doesn't. After I updated it, because hey, an update? Oh, darn tootin', I'm sure gonna update things, because that's what people do. Heed my words, people. Heed them. If something works, you never, ever update it. Ever. Because if you do, the update gremlins, they will find you, and they will make sure to make your life a living hell. That's what always happens. That's what Windows did recently when it just screwed up my taskbar again like it always does. And now I'm gonna either have to reinstall Windows or wait for that update that fixes it once every 8 months or so, because they do launch updates that fix it. And if you try to find actual documentation for what's the problem, you won't find it. You'll just find Denver Coder 9 or 6 or whatever his name was. He saw something in 2004, and you're just trying to figure out what he saw. That's an XKCD reference for you. So, the CPU is great. The RAM, 32 gigs. I didn't think... initially, I thought, okay, 32 gigs, that's a bit overkill. I'm already using more than 16 for some video production stuff, so it's not. It's not. It's a necessity. It is an absolute necessity nowadays, especially if doing a 4K video. This isn't 4K, by the way. Actually, I could have probably done it in 4K, but it's already at 35 minutes, and I don't think I would have been able to record that because I forgot to empty the card. Also, I'm going to have to do another video after this one, so it's better if they're both 1080p. Well, it's been great. The one thing that I still have to change is the video card. I am going with NVIDIA in the next generation, an NVIDIA 3000 series, probably a 3060. Hopefully it won't suck because I'm kind of using software now that doesn't really do AMD video encoding. Oh, by the way, the video encoding, but that was CPU only. It doesn't use the video card because the software I'm using now cannot do that with AMD. It can do that with NVIDIA, not with AMD. So that you know, from what was it like? I forgot the ratio I mentioned, but imagine that, but only bigger. Like I think without GPU encoding on the old videos, it used to take like, even on normal videos, on 1080p video, it used to take like twice as much as the actual video length. Now that's down to 4. Maybe it was 3 times. I didn't do proper testing on this. I just have the gut experience of how long it used to take. Now it's down to like 4.5 times less than the time of the actual video. That's a big improvement. That is a huge thing. That is amazing. And it's amazing because of you people. Because you paid for half of this, or at least you reimbursed me so I could buy my parents the stuff they needed around the house. Because, fun fact, working 2 jobs in Romania doesn't pay as much as you think. Now, for me, it's amazing. I'm going to see the new Star Wars movie tomorrow. So, I can afford to do that. I can afford to go see a movie. I don't have to pirate everything anymore. Not that we used to pirate things. Oh no, in Romania we all have legal software and stuff. We never pirated things. No, no piracy here. Everybody pirates it. It's a national pastime. Just ask one of our former presidents. Anyway. Even though I'm working 2 jobs, it's still going to take a while to save up for the video card, so it may take some time, but hey, I managed to get this. I managed to get this system to justify the expense of the system because you people, and when I say you people, I mean you fine folks. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not a racist thing. Because you helped, because you believed in us enough to give us $60, $70, $50 a month, and they accumulated, and when we weren't paying bills, we got this PC. And thank you. I owe you more shows, more videos, and they're gonna suck, because again, I don't have proper time to actually do things. But I'm gonna try. And fail. So that was it for the new build. It's got RGB lights. It's amazing, and it is probably going to be around for a long, long time, and I'm out of battery, so I don't think I can do the next video today. Probably do it tomorrow. Who knows? Well, I know, because I probably would have already done the video by the time you're watching this. Anyway, have a Merry Christmas, people, if you don't see any videos from us until then. If not, actually no, if I put this video after the one that I'm gonna make after this one, I can still wish you a Merry Christmas on this one, or Happy New Year. Who knows? Happy holidays, everybody. Take care. Be kind to those around you, just as you've been to me. Apart from that one guy in the comments. You know who you are. Dude. Yes. Dude, really? Come on. Goodbye, folks.